a young, versatile forward. Now, again, a few patch journals have talked about this, and Lewis Steele said that obviously the number 9 and the different ones, but as he mentioned, Liverpool are also looking at a versatile forward that can play across the front line, which can be difficult to find, especially for the level that Liverpool won. I mean, I think when that was talked about, people have gone, we can only play 2. They can't play left wing, right wing, and centre forward. Do you think they were a little bit like the Luis Diaz scenario? Probably Arne Slot's looking for someone who could play a couple at least of positions across the front line there.
Yeah, and I think to an extent he'd be foolish not to a little bit. Like I'm done with the Diaz experiment as a number 9, but that's not me saying at points last season it didn't help us. Like it was a big relief having him in that front line at moments when Nunez was Nunez and Jota was injured. Like it's great to have that option and versatility. If we were to just say, right, you're a striker, you're left wing, you're right wing, don't play anywhere else, there'd be moments last season even where we were in a lot of trouble. Do I think he's going to do it? Yeah, I just think that Slot's we saw at points last season, the front three, bar maybe Salah, very much they rotate. Sometimes Gakpo was playing through the middle during matches. Sometimes Diaz would come in the centre. Chiesa at moments, like the League Cup final, obviously a weird scenario, he ended up in the middle. They rotate during matches, and I think that having someone who's very versatile, like a Fofana, would be massive for us. Gives you a different dimension, different option, and Slot has proven this season how tactically adaptable he is. Sometimes he can play deep, sometimes we play possession, sometimes we're counter-attacking. Having those players who can change it up during a match, i.e. a Diaz who can go on the right wing or through the middle, a Gakpo who can go through the middle, a Salah who can go for so many different options up front, it helps you. It's not a negative like it is in the back line where you need sort of stability and structure. The front players are meant to be free-flowing, they're meant to be multi-positional. And yeah, I think it's something that you could really benefit from and something I think he'll do.
Yeah, when you think of sort of that OG front three that we all love, they did interchange as well. I know they usually had starting positions, but it's important to say, and that could well be the name. And you mentioned one there. I mean, this was interesting the other night that Lyon, they've been relegated to League Two. That came in last night. They have got the right to appeal the decision, but because of their substantial debts, I mean, the suggestions were it was around €500 million or so, absolutely huge. Their owners obviously selling bits of Palace and trying to raise funds that way. You do suspect they'll appeal it, of course, but it threw up this link again, didn't it? Malick Fofana, their Belgian winger, who can play on the left and the right as well. I mean, across the two biggest competitions, you talk about Ligue 1 and the Europa, 11 goals, 5 assists, 16 goal contributions. I mean, a carrier, Lou, in the 98th percentile compared to his compatriots. Could this be one, and this has been a phrase we've used before, do you feel Fofana's maybe looked at for an FSG style signing and opportunistic because of what's happening with Lyon?
Yeah, and I think you've got to be. Like, it sounds cruel, but you look at teams in the Premier League as an example when they've been relegated, and people look like we did with Andrew Robertson. Hull went down, we went in for Robbo. He's been here long term. You have to, and it sounds cruel, you have to be opportunistic on the misfortunes of others. You've got to swoop in when these teams are in difficult positions because they do it to us. It's just a fact of football. It's a fact of life. Fofana is, I think I saw something that was saying it's around, Lyon wanted around 59 million for him, there or thereabouts. They're in no position to be making demands or negotiations. If Liverpool want that talented winger, Fofana is up there with the very best. And we saw it with Bakayoko a couple seasons ago. Maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe he doesn't become this megastar. Bakayoko sort of stinted slightly. Fofana this season has been unbelievable. He's top 2% for progressive carries, top 6 for carries into the final third, top 13% for carries into the penalty area. That is someone who, even for 59 million, that's a good price. He's very talented. We could get him for half that maybe if Lyon are in that desperate of a situation. Don't forget as well, they've just lost Cherky for a cutthroat price. Like, players are leaving. Getting Fofana, I think, should be a top priority, not just for an FSG the way that we operate. But this is someone who could become a mainstay on the left wing for us if we do lose Diaz or we do lose Gakpo. We have to swoop in on this opportunity.
I do really like the idea of Malick Fofana. We've seen his highlights as well. And people who watch French football or analysts we spoke to say this kid is special. So if you can get him at the right price, that will come into the mix. And I suppose other versatile forwards, I'll get your take on this one because I've been on record, so I can't lie. I'm not enamoured with this, but fellow Scouser, Anthony Gordon, a red. Always that link just stays there. Newcastle, same agency as Mark Gay as well. I mean, people look to the season before, 23-24, where he did really well. It was a struggle for him last season, even though Newcastle got the Champions League. Where do you stand on this one?
It's not for me. look, I've said this so many times. I'm not a tactical mastermind. I'm just someone who I can watch it and appreciate it and think, yeah, okay, I like you or I don't like you. Anthony Gordon, for me, does not set the world on fire. Anthony Gordon's best strengths are carrying the ball and crossing the ball. Crossing it, we don't need. We've got Tsimikas, we've got Kerkez, two players who are there specifically to cross the ball in from the left flank, from the left-hand side. They're not going to sit back. They're going to venture forward. Like, that's why we don't see Diaz and Gakpo crossing the ball so much. They cut inside. They create space for the left-backs. So that's one strength done. And in terms of carrying the ball, does Luis Diaz not do that? Would a Fofana not do that? Does a Gakpo not do that? Anthony Gordon is a good player. Don't get me wrong. Last season, the one just gone, 9 goals and 7 assists in all competitions. It's far from awful. Don't get me wrong. But you go to the season before, 12 goals and 16 assists. If you'd have asked me a year ago, would you take Anthony Gordon? I think I would have been all over it. This year, I think we've seen a noticeable decline in him. There's clearly a little bit of temperament issues. That red card he got against Brighton, I think it was, just before the League Cup, was daft. And he's not contributed to any goals since the 22nd of January, or goals or assists. Most of his contributions last season came in a purple patch. He recorded 9 goal involvements in 11 matches in the middle of the season. Now, one thing that Luis Diaz gets a lot of criticism for is he has purple patches and then long stints of nothing.
Yeah.
Why would we sign an Anthony Gordon who does the exact same thing? One purple patch in the middle of the campaign, a little bit at the beginning, massive gaps of inconsistency. He's a good player, but his strengths are not needed for this team because we've got players who can do what he does. And for me, I just wouldn't be breaking the bank to attempt him when I'd rather go for a Fofana who, much more promising, much better at running with the ball, seems to fit the mould a little bit more than a Gordon who, if you're going to ask who do you want to go for, Gordon or an Isak, because you can probably only get one, I'd rather an Isak than an Anthony Gordon any day of the week.
Yeah, it would feel for me like the worst consolation prize if it does end up on Anthony Gordon. So despite the ramblings of Stan Maguire or Bran Barry or anyone else, Anthony Gordon is not coming on to the docket, people.
No.
But I suppose on this, and this steers into it, there's a lot that can still happen still, as we said. Like there's the Luis Diaz question of Saudi or other European clubs. There's other forwards, other positions. I get it. Is your gut telling you right now it's a 9 and a winger as in a young, versatile forward, or is it either or? Where are you standing on this?
I think it's either or, purely for the simple fact of, at the moment, the left wing position for me is not a problem area. People will say Diaz isn't good enough. People will say Gakpo isn't good enough. But you've got 2 terrific options there. Selling one of them means you have to bring someone else in just because of a lack of depth. But at the moment, neither of them are dead set on leaving. So I think you just leave that position as is. Striker, we know we desperately need. Now, we also need a centre-back because we've sort of created that issue by selling Quanta. Can I see us signing a left winger, a striker, and a centre-back? No. We're definitely going to sign a centre-back this summer. Either one of the 4, either a number 9 or a winger is going to get signed. Can I see us doing both of them? Not really, because of probably the finance. I know we're going to sell players, but it's still up in the air as to who goes and who doesn't. we're not in a desperate position to sign a wide player at the minute. Obviously, Chiesa's probably going to leave, but Ben Doak's still around, who could be an option if he doesn't get sold. Like I said, Gakpo and Diaz aren't going anywhere. Salah's not going anywhere. Striker is a definite must. So unless there's some major sales in this window and we lose a Diaz or a Gakpo, then maybe. But for me at the moment, I think it's going to be one or the other, not both of them. I just can't see us going out and spending copious amounts of money on both positions unless there's major outgoings at the minute and we go into some sort of crisis mode where we're like, just sign anyone, just get someone in because we're in a desperate situation. We create problems for ourselves if we were to sell people, to be honest.
Which, they're looking at all the options and they definitely ain't going to panic. Which brings us to the very final question. I'm going to ask you on this for the big decisions. If it is a young, versatile forward, who do you think it's going to be?
Oh, Fofana. I hope and pray that it's Fofana. That is the... Look, I don't claim to watch French football every week. That's very, very rare that I watch it. But looking on his stats, looking at his highlights, looking at everything about him that I have, he just seems so tailor-made. And I think he's fast, he's versatile, he's a great finisher. The Europa League last season, he was incredible. And I just think that he's someone who you could sign now, who's ready-made, but also capable of being a long-term successor. He's the one that we need to go for, not just because of that, but also for the cutthroat price. Like, if you're talking about an FSG signing, that's like if you can get him for cheaper than what he is now, that's a bargain for someone with that much potential.
Yeah, it does feel like I get a sneaking feeling we will move for Fofana. My gut tells me that. And you mentioned this, we have to see what unfolds with Lyon, but I think if the price is right, which I know is a flipping 80s game show or whatever, but if the price is right and you can get a discount, it wouldn't surprise me if there is the option for another one in the mix, but we will have to see what unfolds on this, ladies and gents. And there we go. There's Isak, there's Ekatike. We know a number 9's coming. Who it will be, we've made our guesses. What are yours? Centre-back, both expect Gay to end up at Liverpool. Does another young Van Dijk pretender come? That's the uncertainty. Is it a 9 and a young versatile forward? Maybe hard to see, but maybe if clubs do go and relegate themselves and then do have to sell players, maybe that comes into the mix as well. There's so much to unfold in the next few weeks. All it leaves me to say is, for answering all the questions, for being jibbed and jabbed and still coming out strong, Lou, it is much appreciated, pal.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
And ladies and gents, that was another Big Decisions for Anfield Index.